an experimental machine that recognizes the human voice was introduced to the press.
This device will take you there. It will just take you there a little more efficiently.
With the flick of a switch, it becomes a boat.
In the 1960s, the world was buzzing with innovation. From futuristic gadgets to bold fashion trends, it was a decade that dared to dream big. New ideas were popping up everywhere, from living room technology to outer space ambitions. But not every idea was a winner. Some inventions were ahead of their time. Others, just plain bizarre. But all of them have a story worth telling. Join us as we explore the 25 innovative products from the 1960s that failed miserably.
Good morning, John. You're looking well this morning.
Oh, you look fabulous.
I'm very pleased and proud, John, to participate with you this morning in this historic call.
In 1964, AT&T introduced the picture phone at the New York World's Fair. It lets people see and talk to each other through a small screen and a camera. The idea felt futuristic and exciting at the time. AT&T spent years and millions building it, opening public booths in cities like New York and Chicago. But the price was way too high. It was priced at around $160 a month, plus extra for each minute. Only a few hundred people ever used it. The biggest issue was that you could only call someone who also had a picture phone. Hardly anyone did. People felt uncomfortable on camera, the video was grainy, and the screen was tiny. It didn't feel natural. In the end, AT&T pulled the plug. It was a clever idea, just ahead of its time. Video calling needed better tech and a more ready world. The Clairtone Project G was born in 1964 in Canada. It was big and bold. Imagine a nearly 7-foot rosewood cabinet on wheels with 2 globe speakers sticking out the sides. It looked like something from the space age. The design won a silver medal at the Milan Triennale, and even Sinatra and Hefner owned one. It cost about $2,000, which is around $20,000 today. Only about 380 made it into homes. Even though it sounded nice, making it was expensive, and the company grew too fast. They moved to a new factory in Nova Scotia. Parts were delayed, damaged in shipping, and costs went out of control. By 1970, Clairtone was losing big and had to be sold. They closed for good in 1972. Project G became a design legend, but it failed as a business.
The 675-watt Amana radar range microwave oven has quality features: 2 timers, stainless steel interior, glass oven tray that catches spills and juices.
In 1967, Amana launched the Radar Range, the first home microwave that looked like it belonged in a kitchen. It was smaller and more practical than earlier models, but the $500 price tag was steep. People were unsure about cooking with invisible waves. Some even feared it was dangerous. Plus, it didn't brown or crisp food, making it a poor oven substitute. The texture and taste felt off. To ease fears, Amana sent reps door to door for demos and ran trust-building ads. Still, sales lagged. It took years and cheaper prices before the public truly embraced it. It changed kitchens forever, but back then, the microwave felt more like a gamble than a gadget.
Particular model is 760H, but Kodak came out with a lot of different versions of projectors from around the 1960s.
The Kodak Carousel Slide projector came out in the early 1960s. It was designed to make family photo viewing easier and more fun. Instead of stacking slides in a straight tray, Kodak used a round one. It looked neat and held up to 80 slides. People liked how the slides clicked through with a soft sound. It felt smooth and modern. It became popular in schools and living rooms for years. But as time passed, the charm faded. Setting it up took effort. You had to load each slide by hand. The projector was also bulky and needed a screen or a white wall. When photo prints got cheaper and video cameras entered homes, people stopped using slideshows. Digital photos eventually made it nearly useless. It had a long run, but even good ideas get replaced.
You can't explain the feeling. It's like a dream that's reality. It's just one of those wonderful, hard to explain feelings.
In the early 1960s, Bell Aerosystems built a jetpack called the Bell Rocket Belt for the U.S. Army. It used hydrogen peroxide fuel and nitrogen gas to produce thrust. A pilot could fly for about 20 seconds and cover up to 120 meters. That brief flight cost about 5 gallons of fuel. The belt captured attention. It was shown to President Kennedy in 1961 and flew in front of officers at the Pentagon in 1962. It even appeared in the James Bond film Thunderball and TV shows like Lost in Space. But military leaders saw little use in it. Its flight lasted barely 20 seconds and needed heavy support staff. They felt it was more of a spectacle than practical. So the Army canceled funding and the project ended.
Last year, an experimental machine that recognizes the human voice was introduced to the press by its inventor, William C. Dersch, of the Advanced Systems Development Division.
In 1961, IBM introduced the shoebox, a voice recognition device created by William C. Dersch. It could recognize 16 spoken words, including digits 0 through 9, and basic commands like plus and minus. First showcased at the 1962 Seattle World's Fair, the shoebox amazed audiences by solving simple arithmetic through voice input. It used analog filters and diode resistor logic to convert sound into action, lighting up digits and computing results. But behind the excitement was a product destined to fail. The shoebox was bulky, limited, and far from practical. Its analog filters and diode resistor logic were clever but constrained. With such a narrow vocabulary and no clear path to commercial use, it was never sold to the public. Ultimately, the shoebox was a technological dead end. It failed to evolve beyond a clunky demo and never made it past the prototype stage. IBM shelved the project, and the device was quietly forgotten. Far from a triumph, the shoebox serves as a reminder that not every ambitious idea becomes a success. Some are simply too limited, too early, or too flawed to matter. Blowing your mind? This next invention was meant to send soldiers flying, literally.
The ground effect program also includes 2 off-the-shelf Curtiss-Wright air cars. This one seats 4 or has a payload capacity of 1,000 pounds.
Here is the hovercraft family car that almost took off. Once there was a dream of hovercar travel in the 1960s. Companies imagined family cars that floated on air cushions over roads. It felt like something out of a sci-fi movie. A prototype by Curtiss-Wright in 1960 was big, noisy, and hard to steer. There was no skirt, so it barely lifted from the ground. It could not go off-road and barely worked even on smooth surfaces. That made it impractical and costly. Air cushion vehicles did see some trial runs, like hovercraft ferries used in the Bay Area in the mid-1960s. But costs were high and maintenance heavy. Rules and poor performance shut interest down quickly. So the Hover family car stayed a dream. It never made it to garages. It's a relic of visions that were too big for their time.
This device is much closer to something you wear. You get on it, and you lean forward, and you go forward. You lean back, and you go back.
Here's something futuristic that flew too early. Designers in the 1960s sketched concepts for personal gyro vehicles, sort of a Segway before there was a Segway. They thought people would ride them for short daily trips. Ford even studied levitating one-seat Mach 1 hovercraft cars. But the tech was far from ready. These vehicles rode on air pressure and floated only a tiny inch off the ground. Control was sketchy, speed was low, and they could barely clear small bumps. These ideas stayed on paper or the show floors. They never became real home vehicles. It showed that an idea can look fun in sketches but fail when physics catches up. Concept died before it got real.
The vibratory belt, according to the logic of a real cool informant, is definitely square. Its principle, he asserts, may be traced back to times when the population was wont to dig the shimmy in Vibratesville.
If you ever saw someone in the 1960s stand on a machine that vibrated them to slim down, that was the vibrating belt. It wrapped around the waist or hips and shook the body fast, sometimes over 3,000 times a minute. Ads claimed you'd burn fat without moving. You could stand, watch TV, or nap and get smaller. But scientists eventually said it did nothing for weight loss. It was a massage, not an exercise. The belt was mocked in TV shows and jokes. Sales faded by the 1970s once the truth was out. The idea felt lazy and funny, not helpful. Today, it's a weird footnote in fitness history, but a solid reminder you can't shake fat away. There was a bold stunt in 1960 called Smell-O-Vision. A film called Scent of Mystery used a smell brain to send up to 30 odors through tubes to seats in special theaters. Viewers were supposed to smell what was on screen: flowers, wine, pine, but the scents often arrived late or mixed together. Some seats smelled bad, others didn't. Critics called it a gimmick, and audiences felt confused. The film flopped. The installation cost was huge, about $25 to $30 per seat in 1960. That was crazy when ticket prices were under $1. The expense and poor timing doomed it. Smell-O-Vision never caught on and faded fast. It's a funny reminder that not every sense belongs in cinema. Smells belong in real life, not forced into movies. Picture this odd gadget. In the 1960s, someone built a robot that would pick up your ringing phone and then it would hang it back up. That was it. It did not record messages. It did not speak. It just answered and replaced the handset. People were intrigued by the idea at first. It felt futuristic and weird. But after the initial look it moves moment, it got boring. It offered little real value. People still preferred human interaction or recorded messages. It never caught on. Eventually, it disappeared. That robot answered once, hung up, and faded into history. Quirky, but pointless.
A single manuscript would never believe that you deal routinely with millions of data every day, or that one day a machine would process more information in milliseconds than he did in a lifetime.
Ever heard of memory made from tiny bubbles? In the late 1960s, Bell Labs introduced bubble memory, which used magnetic bubbles and garnet to store data. It didn't need power to retain information and was tough enough for military and industrial use. At first, it looked like the future, used in early computers and surviving well into the 1980s. But bubble memory had competition. Hard drives improved. Flash memory arrived. And suddenly, its slower speed, high cost, and production issues made it less appealing. Though innovative, it struggled to scale and couldn't keep up with newer, faster, cheaper tech. In the end, bubble memory had real potential. But sometimes, even good inventions get left behind when something better takes the lead. That's how it quietly disappeared from the tech scene.
Now that Curtiss Wright had military funding, their airplane was bound to certain requirements. The fuselage was lengthened to provide better passenger access.
What if a plane could lift off straight up, then fly forward at jet speeds? That was the dream behind the Curtiss Wright X-19, a bold prototype from 1963. With 4 tilting propellers, this futuristic vertical takeoff and landing aircraft aimed to combine the flexibility of a helicopter with the range and speed of a fixed-wing plane. The idea was groundbreaking, but reality had other plans. Its first hover test came months later, but stability was a nightmare. In 1965, a gearbox failure ended in a crash. Thankfully, the pilot ejected safely. Across 2 years, it managed only 4 hours of flight across 50 short tests. The second prototype never even took off. Despite all the hype, the X-19 was grounded for good. It was Curtiss Wright's final aircraft, and proof that in aviation, even the most daring designs need more than ambition to fly.
It's so easy. So easy on your feet. Shoes in Corfam. So doggone easy. Doggone easy, doggone
In the early 1960s, DuPont introduced Corfam, a shiny, leather-like material made from plastic. It was tough, waterproof, and didn't scuff easily. They called it the future of footwear. It even debuted at the 1964 New York World's Fair. But there was one big problem. It didn't breathe. Corfam shoes made feet sweat, pinch, and blister. And unlike real leather, they never broke in. By the early 70s, sales flopped. DuPont quietly pulled the plug after losing millions. Corfam had the shine, but not the soul. A futuristic idea that just couldn't take the heat, literally. You've seen tires spin, but have you ever seen them glow like neon signs on a highway? In 1961, Goodyear lit up the streets, literally. They unveiled glowing tires made from neothane, a translucent synthetic rubber. Light bulbs inside the rims made them shine in neon colors at night. When they rolled through Miami on a red Dodge Polara, jaws dropped. It looked like the future of driving, but it wasn't. The tires didn't grip well in the rain. Dust and grime dulled the glow. The cost to install and maintain them was sky high. Flashy? Yes. Functional? Not really. They never made it to production. That glowing dream died in the garage. It was a reminder that not all bright ideas are built for the road.
Effervescent. Effervescent. Take a glass of water, watch the magic begin. The second you drop a Fizzy's tablet in.
Back in the 1960s, Fizzies were the drink tablets every kid wanted. Drop one into water, and it would fizz like soda, turning plain water into a sweet, flavored drink. Cherry, root beer, grape, you name it. It was like science class magic you could sip. Fizzies were marketed as fun, portable, and futuristic, and space-age hype made them a hit. But early versions used cyclamates, later banned by the FDA. Reformulated ones lacked flavor and fizz, and sales fizzled out. Fizzies made brief comebacks in later decades, but never regained their former sparkle. A pop, a fizz, and then gone. Fizzies are a nostalgic reminder that even the coolest trends can dissolve under scrutiny.
1958 Edsel, the car that presents originality and elegance never seen before in any car at any price, and presents them in...
The idea behind the Ford Edsel was born in the 1950s, an ambitious attempt to create a revolutionary car that would dominate the next decade. By the time it rolled into showrooms in the early 1960s, Ford had poured millions into the project, marketing it as the car of the future. With its bold design, high-tech dashboard, and signature horse collar grille, the Edsel was meant to stand out. But the public didn't bite. People thought the styling was ugly, the name odd, and the price too high. Some early models had quality issues straight off the lot. Even dealers didn't know how to sell it. By the mid-1960s, Edsel was dead, one of the costliest flops in automotive history. Today, it's a collector's item and a lesson in over-promising. The Edsel shows that even giants can stumble when they don't listen to the market. It was a car that aimed too far ahead and ended up in reverse. In the 1960s, inventors wanted to make surfing faster and easier, so they stuck a motor on the board. The result? The motorized surfboard. Early models looked like something out of a sci-fi beach party, with gas engines roaring beneath the surfers' feet. The idea seemed cool, but the boards were heavy, loud, and hard to steer, turning off surfers who valued freedom and flow. Add fuel spills, overheating, and collision risks, and it clashed with surfing's harmony with nature's spirit. Motorized boards never caught on in the 60s. Today's electric surfboards are sleeker and safer, but they owe their roots to this roaring flop. Sometimes catching the wave means knowing when to let it go. Next up, the 8-track car audio player, because nothing said road trip in the 60s like a tape you couldn't rewind.
An 8-track car stereo tape player, regularly $59.95, now just $29.95. You save $30 and get your choice of music wherever you drive.
Before Spotify and Bluetooth, there was the 8-track. In the 1960s, it was a game changer for music lovers on the road. Slide in a chunky cartridge and boom, your favorite tunes from the driver's seat. It felt like the future. No rewinding, no flipping sides, just continuous music on a loop. Ford even made it standard in some models, but the magic didn't last. 8 tracks had poor sound quality, clicked mid-song to change tracks, and melted in the sun. Plus, they were big, glove box hogging big. By the late 70s, cassettes and compact discs rolled in, offering better sound and convenience. Still, for a moment, the 8-track was king of the car stereo. Today, it's a nostalgic icon, proof that the road to innovation often includes a few musical missteps.
With a flick of a switch, it becomes a boat. It's the new Amphicar, the sports car that swims at an average of 10 miles an hour.
Half car, half boat, the Amphicar hit U.S. roads and lakes in the early 1960s. Built in Germany, it promised the ultimate adventure. Drive straight into the water and keep going. With twin propellers and a watertight body, it could cruise on land and paddle in water. President Lyndon B. Johnson famously used one to prank guests at his Texas ranch. But the Amphicar was slow on land and sluggish in water. It leaked, rusted easily, and didn't handle either terrain well. And let's be honest, fixing a car is one thing. Fixing a car that floats is another level of headache. Only about 4,000 were made before it sank into obscurity. The Amphicar was ambitious but impractical. It was a classic case of trying to do two things and not doing either very well. Long before VR headsets, the 1960s introduced TV goggles, wearable screens meant to deliver a personal, immersive viewing experience. The idea sounded futuristic. Watch your favorite shows right in front of your eyes, hands-free. But reality didn't match the hype. The goggles were bulky, uncomfortable, and caused eye strain. The picture quality was poor, and wearing a headset just to watch basic TV felt more like a chore than a breakthrough. People stuck with their living room sets, and TV goggles quietly faded into obscurity. They never revolutionized entertainment, but they hinted at a future where screens would follow us everywhere, even if they weren't quite ready yet. In the 1960s, polyester pantsuits promised a wrinkle-free, easy-care fashion revolution. Just wash, wear, and walk out the door, no ironing needed. But in practice, they were hot, itchy, and barely breathable. Instead of comfort, wearers got sweat and static cling. The bright colors and bold patterns didn't help either. Many looked more like costumes than clothing. Despite heavy marketing, people quickly realized polyester didn't feel good or look flattering. What started as a modern solution became a punchline in fashion history. Polyester pantsuits proved one thing: not all shortcuts to style are worth the itch. And finally, the Chevrolet Corvair. Proof that not every sleek design is safe, and not every revolution makes it around the corner.
Corvair for 1965. All new international beauty from Chevrolet.
Launched in 1960, the Chevrolet Corvair stood out with its rear engine and sleek European-inspired design. It was affordable, stylish, and different, perfect for drivers wanting something bold. But beneath the surface, trouble brewed. Its swing axle suspension caused handling problems, especially during sharp turns. Critics, including Ralph Nader in his book Unsafe at Any Speed, slammed it for being dangerous. The controversy dented its reputation hard. Though Chevrolet tried to fix the issues in later models, the damage was done. By 1969, the Corvair was discontinued. Today, it's a cautionary tale in automotive history, a reminder that innovation without safety can steer straight into disaster.